Right, so my name's Paul Rogerson. I'm an inspector and I work at Huntingdon Police Station, and I'm one of a small management team within the district. I work under a chief inspector and alongside a detective inspector. My responsibility as part of that team is for about 120 people, and that covers 24/7 policing, so I'm an operations manager. And the other part of my job is to manage community cohesion and community contact. And as such, I manage 3 teams in Huntingdon, St Ives and St Neots. There's a real broad spectrum of people that I work with to try and move forwards underlying problems. Some of them can be social problems, some of them can be quite specific to an area or a location or a person or a house, to try and unpick those issues and move them forward. I mean, the first thing I'd have to say is I take that back to the Bible, in that the Bible is quite clear that God made us in His image to work, and as such, in His sovereignty, He's put me here to serve Him. I think God cares about the police force specifically because He calls us to respect our leaders, to respect authority, and obviously we have to respect that whilst it might not be our choice who governs us or who sets the laws, it is God's choice. And fundamentally, if you look at the basics of the police force, we're here to protect people, and just in the same way that He does with the armed forces and other agencies, I think He cares about the police force because they're made up of people that He has put there to protect others, to care for others. And those basic principles of love and compassion for others are Christian principles. And in the UK, many of our laws are based upon Christian principles as well, and come from from Christian backgrounds. So I think God can really work through the police force as a whole, and He works through Christians in the police force to keep people safe, but also to deliver messages of hope as well, and compassion, and that kind of human nature which us as Christians we know where that comes from. But that inbuilt human nature to protect each other is something that my colleagues carry here, that they perhaps don't know where it comes from, but they're still here doing it because it's been inbuilt within them to help other people and to help make their lives better as well. I suppose I could answer that in 2 ways really. Personally, the fruit that God gives you through justification, through your understanding and your relationship with Him, certainly of patience for me, albeit all the fruits are kind of, it's a fruit, isn't it? But for me, I think patience has and being calm and just having a wider view of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I wouldn't say that I would now run gung-ho into a dangerous situation, but I certainly would commit every situation I go into to God in prayer. And that's always sharpened when I'm about to go into a conflict situation. And I couldn't say that I open every email with that in mind, but I do certainly now pray as I'm going and attending things that could be volatile or involve confrontation. But I go in there with the promise and the knowledge that God's with me. Through that, though, I think the wisdom that the Lord gives you to approach those situations as well, because you go in there not just trying to make sure that you come out with yourself intact. And this, I'm now talking wider than conflicts. This could be a negotiation with partners, or a meeting, or resolving confrontation between staff, etc. I go in now with a sense of responsibility that I'm going in to honour my Creator within those as well. So that gives me that extra accountability, and I genuinely think that when I am disciplined enough to commit those things to God as I do them, there's genuinely a better outcome for everybody, and those things all work together for that greater purpose. I'm learning as I go about this. I have found that when I just relax a little bit and let God take over, listen and look for the opportunities. Like I said before, anyone new I meet who I'm going to work with, I will just sit down with them and say, I know it sounds a bit bizarre to tell you this, but I'm a Christian, because it will influence the way in which I think, the decisions that I make, and the perspective that I have on human life. That has been amazing, and as a discipline just to do that has worked really well when I allow God to do it. What I have to be aware of is that the constabulary does view itself as a secular organisation, so when I've attempted to share scripture, so we try and publish articles about Christmas and Easter specifically to talk to the workplace about what that means to Christians. I haven't been successful in actually sharing scriptures or even just references to, a chapter and a verse, just literally putting the numbers on there, because the organisation's quite worried, I think, about prophetising in the workforce and upsetting other people and not being equal and fair. And some of that I understand, some of that I've really struggled with. But I've just found actually that God's put me here, and He's put my brothers and sisters, Christians in the workplace. He's put us here to be that salt and light as well. He's not just kind of dictated that we have large walls filled with scripture for people to happen across. He's put us here to talk to people, to be a witness in what we do, and I'm a real believer now in doing just that. And there have been opportunities when I have got my Bible out of work and a conversation has led to a discussion about scripture and been able to share things with people. And actually, again, when I submit to God's will and I just allow myself to do His will, and that a part of that is just through listening and discipline. And actually, it tends to be the other person that leads me into that conversation, rather than me having to really push it. Police work's hard. It's really tough. You see a lot of things that most people don't see, and you bear the brunt of a lot of people's problems. You only see people at their worst, especially in today's climate where there's less money than we had, there's less people than we had, so we tend to deal with the top slice of people's problems now. And because of that leads to a kind of a coping mechanism, and my coping mechanism should always be to bring those things back to the Lord. In the rest of the workforce, that's dealt with in a number of ways, and that can be through quite dark humour. It can be through quite inappropriate or Christianly inappropriate, and by the world standards as well, quite inappropriate comments, and also just in that that very difficult situation where we all become very tired. We are dealing with a lot of stress, a huge workload sometimes, and it can lead to just regular tiredness and stress and conflict. So that's a real challenge for me, is how to be in those environments, to be that salt and light, how to be that influence but not become part of it. And it's tempting sometimes, especially when morale is part of my job, being part of a team is part of my job, leadership is part of my job, and it's the easy way is just to get involved and be part of it. And I find that a real challenge sometimes. And just prayer really for strength, energy, and just to have wisdom to really listen to what it is that the Lord's calling me and the Christian Police Association to do in the workplace.